again. All right, so lesson number 3 of the week should be Thursday, the 16th. And we are talking about story elements. So your job is to be able to tell me what all of the story elements are so that you can talk about the story and be able to remember characters, setting, events, okay? So you should be able to tell me in what order the events happened, the important people, okay, when and where it took place, okay? Those are all very important things to be able to tell me. And it also helps you remember and to retell a story, okay? Those are all very important pieces of information to help you remember and to retell, okay? So, up here, and it also tells you on page 315 of your book. So if you were to go back into the story on your computer and go to page 315, there is a section there where it shows you problem and solution, okay? And here it shows us our characters are Sadie, and Richie, and their mom, okay? And it also talks about the setting in this next little box here, okay? So we have our characters, we have our setting, and it says the setting was the basketball court, and I had said it was the basketball game. It's kind of all the same thing. So they're at the basketball court, but they're actually at a basketball game. It's kind of all related there, okay? I think it's important to talk about the setting as the actual basketball game. They're not just at a court. They're attending a basketball game. Sadie is at her basketball game, and that's a very important distinction to make. She's not just practicing, right? She's at a game. She's playing, okay? And that leads us into the next part, okay? And I also want to talk a little bit more about why knowing all of this information is important, okay? You know you're successful at knowing these pieces, okay? When you can retell me the characters and the setting and the events in order, the main pieces, but also when you can tell me the problem in a story, because in these stories there's always a problem, and the events that lead to the solution, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about a lot today. And knowing all of these pieces is very, very, very important, okay? And being able to tell them in order is going to lead you to that solution. It's a pivotal moment when that solution happens, okay? So, what is the problem in this story? Yesterday, we talked about how Sadie and Richie were a lot alike, and that is very important to this problem, isn't it? Okay, so you have Sadie and Richie, and Sadie and Richie were very close for a brother and sister, weren't they? They both really, really, really loved sports, but in particular, they really loved basketball, which is how this story takes place. Little Miss Sadie is playing basketball, and somehow she got in an accident when she was little, right? But her brother kind of coached her back into playing basketball, even though she was in a wheelchair, right? He pushed her. When she wanted to give up, he said, no, you're not going to give up. And he helped her get better at playing even in a wheelchair. And I think that's amazing. I don't know if I'd be able to do that if I had gotten hurt and I couldn't walk or run. Would I be able to still play? That's really tough. I know that when I hurt my shoulder, it took me a really long time to start working out again, because I had also hurt my ribs a lot. The bike handlebars went into my ribs, and it was really hard for me to run. And you guys know how much I love to run, right? It took me 6 months before I started running again. And it took me a lot of hard work and a lot of pushing myself to be able to convince myself to run again, because I was actually really scared to run. So I imagine Sadie in this story would have been really scared to play basketball, because it would have been completely new to her to do it in a different means instead of with her legs in a wheelchair, right? It's a lot of hard work, and her brother pushed her, okay? So she counted a lot on her brother to play. So that leads us to this problem, right? So here she is at her basketball game. Now, with the way her brother was different, we talked about this yesterday, right? Her brother was different, Because instead of only caring about basketball, Sadie only really cared about her family and basketball, right? That's not the way her brother was. Her brother really cared about his car, but also his friends. He really left his little sister and went off and hung out with his friends all the time, which left her feeling kind of lonely. So now she's got this problem. She's at her basketball game, right? And she's not playing very well. So we're going to put that under the problem. She's playing poorly. So she's playing poorly. Why is she playing poorly? She's sitting there in this basketball game. She's supposed to be playing really well because she's a good basketball player. She practices all the time, and we know that's how you get better, through lots of practice. And she's looking around, looking around, looking around. Where's Richie? He's not there. So that's her problem, right? Her problem is she's playing really poorly because her brother Richie is not in the stands. Her mom's up there. She looks at her mom, right? She looks at her mom, and her mom is still beaming, right? Her mother's smiling at her like she always does, because that's what moms do, or aunts and uncles and everyone else. We smile and we encourage our kids. But her big brother, who she's like really close with, is not there. So that is the problem in the story. She's playing poorly because Richie isn't there. How would you feel if your brother wasn't there, or someone you were really close with wasn't there at an important basketball game? I would feel pretty bad. I have a best friend, and if she wasn't there at something very important for me, I would feel pretty bad. So here we are, back at your job. I'm going to move this up just slightly, guys, okay? I need you to see at the top, but now I need you to see the bottom, okay? So, problem and solution on page 315, so you guys can have this whole thing in front of you while you work. Remember, you can do this typed out on OneNote if you want to. You can get a piece of paper out. You can do it there. Piece of scratch paper, doesn't matter, in your notebook that I gave you. You have the box for your characters, which are Sadie, Richie, and her mom, his mom too. You're setting the basketball court of the basketball game, however you want to put it. And then down below is your problem. And they have a little more written in the book, and it's fine. I just summed it up. The problem is that Sadie's playing really poorly because her brother Richie isn't there, okay? Your job is going to fill in 2 more boxes, okay? Type it in sentences, write it in sentences, or put it in bullet form, however you want to do it, okay? You need to write what event happened next that leads to the solution. How does this problem of Sadie not playing well get solved? Sometimes you can already think right now, well, I know how that got solved. I know how this problem got fixed. So you can fill in this box first. I know how that got solved. I can tell you that right now. So you're going to fill in this box first maybe, but then you're going to go back up in here and say, well, what event led to that? And fill in this important event. You guys probably already know what these important events are in the story. So maybe you already know what you're going to put here and you don't even need to go back to the story. I don't know. But that will be your job, is to fill in those 2 boxes. Okay? Remember, all of these are the important events that you probably already know about, things that you can remember very quickly. When you read a story, if you're not remembering these things, that tells me that you're either not paying attention when you're listening, or maybe when you're reading the story, you're paying too much attention, not too much, but when you're reading the story, you're solving the words and you're not being able to actually comprehend the story, which is very important at this age, right? So if you're comprehending it, you should be able to remember these things. If you're not comprehending it, you're paying too much, I keep saying too much, you're paying attention to solving the words, you need to go back and reread or re-listen to it so that you can get that comprehension down, okay? If we're not remembering it, we need to reread, and that's the important part of rereading. Comprehension is really important at this age, okay? All right, so your job is to find that event and that solution to finish filling in this chart. We understand? Thumbs up? I can't see you, but I hope you're doing a thumbs up right now. And I'll talk to you on Zoom at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Miss your faces.